Kia ora, I'm Miriam Makamo. Should the names Griff McLaurin and Steve Yates be added to our war memorials, to the cenotaphs? McLaurin and Yates are two unsung Kiwi war heroes who saw the threat of Hitler years before the rest of us. They went off to fight in the Spanish Franco War and they died there, anonymously. But what they did was not only incredibly brave, the Spanish say it helped change the course of history. Ian Sinclair uncovered their story.
A Spanish battlefield and an Anzac story like no other is about to unfold. Two Kiwis, Griff McLaurin and Steve Yates, are on a mission as heroic as Gallipoli or Passchendaele.
They were prepared to go to the absolute limit, to give their lives. They probably knew, even at the time, that they would be killed and that they went anyway. That's how strongly they believed in what they were doing.
Madrid, today a proud city that holds its secrets well. But behind the beauty, the scars of civil war remain. These are bullet holes left behind from the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s. And it's not too hard to find evidence of that battle, but how many of us know the story of two New Zealanders, Griff McLaurin and Steve Yates, who played a key role in saving the city of Madrid from the fascist forces back in 1936? Their names aren't anywhere, are they?
Their names aren't anywhere, no. I think it's an oversight.
At Auckland Grammar, a team photo of the school's second 15 holds one of the few remaining images of Griff McLaurin, the year 1926.
He grew up in a wealthy, respectable Auckland family. He preferred sport, playing rugby and other sports, to his studies when he was at school, but he turned
Writer Mark Darby has pieced together some of McLaurin's story.
He turned out to have a gift for mathematics.
His name on the Grammar Honours Board marks him out as a star pupil, a talent that would take him to Cambridge University.
He was a gifted student, but he certainly didn't apply himself. He was a party guy. He was well known for dressing up and getting boozed. He was more interested, I think, in the social life and the surrounding political life of the campus than he was in his studies. He barely graduated, actually.
But the gathering of war clouds in Europe would change McLaurin's life completely. 1936, German and Italian bombers are pounding Madrid.
Yeah, a useful rehearsal for World War II for them.
Adolf Hitler is backing the fascist general Franco, who wants to overthrow Spain's new democracy. When he heard the news, Griff decided to act.
People like his peers, they were going over to Spain. It was the thing to do at that time. People from all over Europe and elsewhere were arriving to support the cause of the Spanish Republic at that point, and he saw it as his duty to join them.
With McLaurin in the column of international volunteers was the other Kiwi, Steve Yates, a man whose life remains a mystery, a man so long forgotten, even his photo remains elusive.
We know he fought in the First World War in the British Army. Apparently he was an electrician.
At Madrid University, where the Kiwis dug in, they could fill in some gaps.
We got perhaps the best testimony from John Summerfield, who was this young novelist who travelled with them, and he talks, quite a lot about both of them. He talks about, Yates's experience with the machine guns. He talks about, how cheerful McLaurin was, and again.
The university would become the front line of resistance to Franco, Hitler, and Mussolini.
Must have been about here. They must have taken the Lewis guns from the trucks.
And Yates had used machine guns before.
Yeah, well, he was one of the experts. There you got Yates telling people what to do, explaining all the different pieces, explaining how to clean them, how to put them together, how to use them. And, we've got to think that must have been McLaurin's preparation for what was going to be the next day.
Now, happy with their weapons, the Kiwis explored their new home. We're walking in McLaurin and Yates's footsteps here.
Well, Must have been so happy to arrive here. They've been lugging the machine guns and tired, cold. Must have been just dying to lie down.
They had bunked down in the university's philosophy department.
Got this really elegant long corridors with all the radiators and the lights and this incredibly sophisticated lift that they find in there. And this is, you know, this is for them, you know, this is modernity.
And this, Neil Binns believes, is the very room where the Kiwis set up their machine gun. So around here somewhere the machine gun went?
I guess that when the Lewis guns arrived in the afternoon, they must have set one up here. They must have built up the barricade around the gun, head height, you know, to stop any sniper getting at them.
Up on the roof, Dr. Juan Gonzalez shows me graphic evidence of the lethal danger the Kiwis would face. The old lift mechanism still punched with bullets. So what do Spanish people think of young men who came from places like New Zealand to fight for the Republic?
I believe the arrival of this militia from all over the world had an incredible effect. These romantic international volunteers lifted the spirits of the citizens.
And behind a locked door in the basement, proof of the bravery and ingenuity of these volunteers.
Have a look at what we got here. These all these books that have you know, that are survivors, you know, from the barricades, all of them with their bullets in.
Books stacked up in the windows to stop enemy bullets.
And this has obviously been in a barricade. You can see the bullet, at least one bullet's gone in here. It's called eaten into the book. And what Bernard Knox, who was with the New Zealanders on that, you know, the night of the 8th when they made the barricade up on the 4th floor, he said they discovered very quickly that a bullet can get to page 350, you know, and you know, this is a book. I think it's what have we got here? 400 and something. You said the bullet hasn't quite got through, but this is, you know, so this is good enough. This works in a barricade. This will stop the bullet coming.
Of course, the irony of a philosopher's book stopping a fascist bullet would not have been lost on the brigade, would it?
That wouldn't be lost on them. And remember, of course, that maclaurin had his bookstore in Cambridge. You know, he was you know, someone who was educated in Auckland University in Cambridge. He was someone who loved his books, and here he was using those books to protect himself, to protect the International Brigaders from fascism.
The irony wasn't lost on General Franco either. Later, fascists would murder the librarian who gave the brigade those books. But the Kiwi stay in this building would be tragically brief. The brigade had a mission in mind. They needed their best men. Next up, for the first time, details of the Kiwis' final hours and how they helped change the course of history.
The two New Zealanders, maclaurin and Yates, getting stuck over there, protecting their comrades.
They came from across the globe, young volunteers ready to fight fascism. And in the Casa de Campo, a wood outside Madrid, the International Brigade made its stand. In that same wood today, a Spanish historian is searching for the spot where two New Zealanders died for democracy.
Well, I think they died in this part of the Casa de Campo.
Seba Montero's clue, a photo of the Kiwis' own battalion in the same wood.
The pine trees are very similar in the picture, are very similar to the pine trees we are now standing.
Yates and maclaurin had only been in Madrid for one night when they got the orders to head for the woods.
On the 9th, they were needed urgently. Specialist machine gunners were needed. So Yates, of course, was a specialist machine gunner, was taken, and Paul maclaurin, who'd had such limited experience back at school with machine guns, he was taken as well.
This bridge marked the edge of Madrid and the path to victory for General Franco's rebel army.
And I got a feeling that's when maclaurin and Yates and the machine gunners were called upon to try and drive them back. And they managed to drive them back.
But the Kiwis continued on across the bridge, deep into enemy territory held by Franco's feared Moroccan forces, these Arab troops flown in from North Africa by the Germans.
They didn't speak Spanish, a lot of them, and they were notoriously ruthless. They didn't take prisoners, they knifed them. They knifed the wounded. Yeah, they were very, very feared troops indeed.
The Kiwis were on a crucial mission, one the pair would never return from. And it was only back in Auckland that we found the full story on their final fate.
I've got some stuff that'll surprise you, I hope.
Really?
Yeah.
The man with this fresh evidence, researcher and author Mark Darby. The scene, Auckland University's Maclaurin Chapel, built by Maclaurin's uncle, industrialist Sir William Goodfellow. We asked Mark to help us uncover what really happened to Maclaurin and Yates beyond that bridge, and the answer came back from Scotland.
Amazing material that is what hasn't been published anywhere as far as I'm aware.
It's the memoir of a fellow volunteer, David Mackenzie. What does he have to say about Maclaurin?
He says that he had a splendid capacity for distracting our minds from the more unpleasant realities of life, from the small, kind, ever-laughing face. It would have been difficult to identify him as a military hero, but such he proved to be.
That proof came when the pair crossed the bridge into enemy territory. Their target, a massive building called the White House on the far side of the wood.
The fascists held it and were massing their troops for an attack. A mixed battalion of the International Column attacked them while they were still waiting. Maclaurin, with Steve Yates, took their Lewis gun along the right-hand side of the wood. They had no one to carry their ammunition, and Maclaurin carried it all, and his rifle as well. He was wounded almost immediately.
Though mortally wounded, Maclaurin charged ahead through the wood to kill his attacker.
It was at the far end of the wood that his body was found, dead beneath a tree, with the Moorish sniper he had shot down beside him.
Maclaurin's bravery in taking out the sniper would have left the way open for Yates to reach his objective.
Yates continued alone with the machine gun and the ammunition. He was the first to reach the gate at the end of the wood, giving covering fire as our men passed through it. When he was wounded, he propped himself up against a tree and continued to fire his gun, firing from the hip at the Moors around the house, and he was found standing there days later, so riddled with machine gun bullets that his body fell apart when they tried to pick it up.
That's heroism, isn't it?
Yeah. These are both guys who died extraordinarily bravely, under orders, doing what they were, what they were asked to do, to hold the line, for their mates, and they both died in the attempt. That's right.
The interesting thing is that he was in Griff Maclaurin still has cousins in his old suburb of Remuera in Auckland. Cam Maclaurin, a retired surgeon, says Griff's death was a tragic mystery.
I don't know how much the family knew. I rather doubt whether they knew very much at all.
And we were now able to clear some of it up.
It certainly fills out just exactly what happened to a degree that is quite remarkable all these years later.
Have we remembered them well enough?
Oh, I think the short answer to that is no. All those people who fought to try and help stem Franco's advance in Spain ought to be remembered as much as in the later battles of World War II.
And the actions that they did were pretty decisive, possibly critical in actually holding off Franco's assault.
With his first chance lost, it took Franco more than 2 years to take Madrid.
Had it not been for what Maclaurin did, and others like him, but the kind of stand that he and Yates did, holding back Franco's troops, then the Civil War would have been over in a matter of weeks.
So history might have been completely different if, in November 1936, Madrid had not been saved, and been saved on that day, perhaps, by the International Brigaders driving back, and the two New Zealanders, Maclaurin and Yates, getting stuck over there, protecting their comrades.
These guys died in such heroic circumstances, so bravely, and none of us took any notice.
I do find it sad, but I don't think it's too late to remember and to honour their bravery and the reason why they, why they gave their lives in that terrible manner.